So this video focuses on collar. So this is how to do a collar. This is the start. So at the moment what we have in the image there is collar piece here. Okay, so you can see the pattern piece is still on it. You would be always cutting two collars. This one is cut to the fold because you have your top collar and your under collar. When you have your pattern pieces there, you would always need to be sure and snip them well. So want to be sure to have that as your shoulder notch. In this case here, we have a button stand notch and the seam allowance notch. And of course then all of your regular notches for your seam allowances. So also very importantly, you would need to notch here. Now you never snip along a fold line, but you would turn it and snip this way so that we know where our centre back is. Here and here. This is ready to go. It's had everything transferred on to it, the marks, and it can now be ready for being fused. So I can remove this pattern piece. I've got everything marked, and I have the two, that one and that one, and what I need to do is choose the correct fusing and fuse it. So as it's a collar, most likely we choose this firm kind of fusing, which is stiff and kind of crisp. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down and fuse it onto both layers of the collar. The facing has already been fused, so the facing pieces have been fused with the lighter weight fusing as is appropriate for facing. So this is step 2 of the collar. So this is the actual collar piece. It's been fused with the kind of stiff fusing, and now and it's also been pinned. So remember, when you are putting your two layers of the collar together to pin it, start with each end and then go to the notch. You should have a center back notch there, and pin there, and there, and then fill in between, and it should be nicely ready. So it's important to know which end of the collar you are actually stitching and not to mistake. And this is the neckline. This will sew to the bodice and the facing, so it's important to leave that and not stitch that up. And we're stitching straight up along, that's the point of the collar, pivoting, coming along and back down. So it's quite simple enough. The only main thing to know is where to pivot for the corner, and that you move your stitch length down to be a smaller stitch as you come into that corner, just to reinforce the corner. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. So I'm on a normal stitch length here. That's my stitch length dial. I'm watching the lining up with 1.5 and stitch and back stitch, taking my pins out as I go, and stitch along. So maybe as I'm coming near to this notch is going to indicate where my pivot point is. You could have a tailor tack there, which might even be better marking. So I'm just moving it down, and I'm moving it closer, even just slightly less than 1. So once you move down to a small stitch length, the machine goes slower. So when I think I'm on that position, so I can see my notch there, my needle's lined up with that notch, so I think I'm in the position to pivot. I've got my needle down in the machine. I'm going to lift and pivot. If I'm incorrect, I can tell. You see, actually this line has gone past my seam allowance line, which is a bit back, so actually I need to go maybe another stitch or 2 forward, and you can use your manual feed there. So I've done a few more snips, needle is in, now I can pivot, and I can see that actually the edge of my seam allowance there is exactly along my 1.5, so that's the correct position. Keep stitching, just tiny little stitches. I'm going to make it a little bigger, and back to normal. Okay, and I'm just watching my seam allowance go there at 1.5. Okay, and so again, coming closer, might take down the stitch length a bit, and as I get very close, taking it down to very small stitches. If I think I'm ready to pivot, I can check. No, maybe just another couple stitches, and yes, perfect. Now it's lining up with the 1.5 there, and I can stitch away. It's little stitches, a bit bigger, and back to normal. snips there. Okay, so now I have that stitched, so the corner along like that, and so I need to turn it around. If I try and turn it now, it's going to be very bulky in the corners, so I need to snip this coming straight across. I'm going to do a straight snip there. Oops. Depending on the angle, I might need to snip down here and here more. You can always fold along your stitch line there and there to check, and I can see that I will definitely be overlapping in terms of the seam allowance there, so I need to remove some more. So angle it more in terms of my snipping. Sure you don't snip right through, and I'm going to check again. See, that looks better. They're lining up, so on the inside it should look like that when I fold it through. Okay, so you fold it out the other way, and if you have a special poker, you can use that. I do use the end of the scissors, but be careful if you're using it. Just go poke gently until the end comes out nicely. And my advice would be, don't overwork the corner. Once it's close enough to a point, leave it at that. Okay, so the other thing is, I'm going to turn it back inside out temporarily just to show you the last few things to do. You do also, this collar will be going around a neck, and so you need to just do a few straight snips along the top here, just to allow for a bit of movement. So yeah, so next thing is you need to press all of that open, okay, fix this corner as well, trim it down and get it all prepared, and we'll be ready for step 3, which will be applying it to the neckline.